gold down there, Diane. There's gold down there.
You're like their number one favorite guy. Because you won them cash.
Hi and welcome to the Secret Golf Tour Report for the PGA Tour. This week, well, the second week of the Florida swing, and we're off to Bay Hill. It's the Arnold Palmer Invitational. It's an extremely iconic golf course, 5 years since the passing of Arnold Palmer, and every single year at this event, and it's going to be this way forever. I mean, the legend is honoured.
Arnold Palmer was everybody's favorite grandfather, I guess you would say. Diane, he was out there with us for all those years. We loved being around him. You know, this golf course, this tournament, Tiger Woods has dominated it. Other players, there's sort of two ways to win this tournament, Diane. I was not able to solve that puzzle. I had a terrible record at Bay Hill, and we'll talk about that, why I think that's true. Yeah, it's two styles of play. They have a lot of dog legs at Bay Hill. I always thought the golf course is very difficult. They have long par threes. The hardest part of the golf course is right at the end, 17 and 18. We've got some interesting champions. We've seen guys like Tom Kite, Lauren Roberts, one of the shortest hitters on the tour. Matt Every's won this tournament twice. So there's some short hitters. And why can they do well here? And on the other side, we've got these guys that are very long hitters. So how do we put all that together this week?
Well, we are going to do that. What we're going to do is look at Bay Hill, the statistics required to do well around this course. As you said, there's a lot of dynamics to this course, and it could be a few different ways that we're going to see it played this week. So we're going to go into that. We'll re-rank the field to give you our top 10, our Sizzlers, and our Dark Horse picks. We have a few notable names to really talk about this week as well. I have the 18th hole behind me, and you'll see there are fans lining the course, because this week, actually, we are going to see fans on the course. They haven't given it a specific number, but we're thinking anywhere in the region of 8,000 fans per day. So especially around 18 with that grandstand atmosphere, we're going to see that. We're going to feel it. The players are going to feel it. I'm actually going to be there for the weekend, and it'll be the first time I've been at a golf tournament I was at the Travelers Championship for, the beginning of the week, but I haven't actually seen real play since the Players was cancelled last year.
It's going to be great. And I read a little footnote from you, Diane, that said if you have a drink in your hand, that you don't have to have your mask on all the way around the course. So that should suit well for you as well. I wish I was there with you, be honest with you. I can't wait to see the fans. I know the players are exhausted from not having to have any energy, and just hear a few claps or a few oohs or ahs will be a welcome noise for them.
Yeah, and Rory Mcilroy had really talked about that, and this is a tournament that he won in 2018. He's back in the field this week. Right, we're going to talk about Bay Hill quickly, and I want to go back to something you said, because you've played this tournament many times. However, your track record is not great around it, as you admit yourself. But tell us about 1997, which was one of the biggest years in your career.
Diane, the Bay Hill course has been just the worst fit for me. And why is that? There's like 10 dog legs on this golf course. There's, I think, 7 of them are right to left, and 3 of them are left to right. And I was always frustrated that I couldn't carry the corner like Tiger or Greg Norman or Andy Bean or some of these long hitters. I was always over here to the side hitting long shots in. Then I got to these long par threes where it was like a 3-iron shot or a 2-iron. And I was just pulling my hair out about Bay Hill. I couldn't score around it. And in 1997, I'll tell you what happened to me. I won the tournament at Doral. The schedule that year was Doral, Bay Hill, and the Players. I was playing great golf, and when I got in on Friday at Doral, there was a message on my phone from Arnold Palmer, and the message said, "I see you haven't committed to next week, and I really would like you to come to a party with me on Tuesday night. I'm putting together a little event." So, of course, that's Arnold's way of saying, you better commit. So, of course, I did. I made my way. I won the tournament at Doral that week. went down to Bay Hill, had the party with Arnold, had a wonderful time. Of course, I missed the cut like I always do, 74, 73, something like that. Went to the Players and won the Players. So what's the equation? One course in the middle that just didn't suit my game. And when I look at the history of this event, Diane, it's very easy for me to look at it and go, ha. Mm-hmm. There's guys that are specialists at this course and there's guys that are not.
Yeah, we're going to talk about a few of them. You had mentioned Matt Every. He won. He went back-to-back 2014 and 2015. And even last year, he opened with 65, but then in the second round shot an 83 and ended up missing the cut. But if you kind of look at that 65, you look at someone else like Mark Leishman, who won here in 2017 and finished runner-up last year. He's had a few other top 10 finishes. We do talk about horses for courses, and this just seems to be one of them that, well, as we said, this year might be a little bit different. And we're just going to talk about one guy who may attack the course a little bit differently, but there's obviously characteristics to Bay Hill that some people really play well to.
Well, it just goes right back to Lauren Roberts. To me, in my mind, there's two models at Bay Hill. Tiger Woods, mm-hmm. who I think's won about 6 of them, and Lauren Roberts. Lauren Roberts was the shortest hitter on our tour. He was probably the best putter back in the day, and he had no ego about trying to cut across any of these dog legs. He just played down to the corner and played in with these hybrids and 4 woods and 5 woods and won the tournament twice. That was duplicated by Tom Kite. That was duplicated by Matt Every, your friend, who you know from Jacksonville. They're able to play the golf course a certain way. Someone like me, I'm going half across the corner, half not, and I'm in trouble all over the place. Or you have someone like Tiger. Mm-hmm. There's some others on this list that we're going to talk about that have the length to just blow right over the corner and get themselves in position to play their second shot. So to me, you've got to make up your mind on your picks this week. I think I'm going to take a little of both.
Well, we talk about the Americans who have won at Bay Hill, Tiger Woods and Matt Every, and then you look at the last 5 years, they've been non-Americans in the form of Tyrrell Hatton, Molinari, Rory McIlroy, Leishman, as we said, Jason Day. So maybe that'll be something that we take into consideration this week as well. You talk about the water, 9 holes at Bay Hill water comes into play. There's 84 bunkers on the course. So there's a lot of trouble out there.
Yeah, and of course, when you hear that there's 9 shots that have to carry water, then you would just automatically, as a fan of golf, realize that you can't really be coming in at like the hole behind you in your screen. You can't be coming into that green over water out of the rough. So even if you are a long hitter like Rory, I mean, when you think of someone that hits it so solid like Rory McIlroy, it's nothing for him to play a hole, over water, any of that kind of stuff. When the guys are back a little bit and they're playing longer shots, it becomes a little bit over the course of the week, 9, 18, 27. Now you got 40, 50 shots over water for the course of the week. Yeah. It weighs on you. So will Bryson D Chambeau, will he put the driver in the bag, or will he be coming out of the rough all week? And we're going to break that down for you too.
And more generous fairways around Bay Hill, but it's one of the toughest courses to get close to the pin from the rough. So that's another thing that, great, whip out your driver, but do you have the accuracy to keep it in the fairway? And that's the question mark over Bryson right now.
Yeah, it's long par 3s. So on this golf course, you've got to hit a lot of really good shots all day. I mean, I remember Payne Stewart winning this tournament. I remember some historic guys that played here, and I just remembered how well they hit the ball all day. I mean, there's a term on the tour, Diane, that if you hit one good shot on a particular hole, let's use a hole that everybody knows. Let's use number 18 at Augusta. If you hit one really good shot at Augusta on number 18, through the trees, up onto the hill, the hole's pretty much over. I mean, it's not a hard hole from there. Mm-hmm. But the hole right behind you, you have to hit a great drive in there, and then you have to hit a great second shot as well. Yeah. And about a dozen of those on this golf course. Arnold Palmer made it this way. He used to tweak this like Jack Nicklaus does at Memorial, changes little things all the time, but the greens are pretty flat. And you noted already that it's difficult to hit the greens from out of the rough. Is because you've got to make sure you get over the water. And you always finish up in the back bunker, left of the green, right of the green. So let's just get him in the fairway. Let's go from there.
Okay, so coming up on our tour report, we're going to look at the stats that we think are going to be key to playing well around Bay Hill this week. Then we'll give you our re-ranked top 10, Sizzlers, some other notables, and of course those all-important dark horse picks for the Arnold Palmer Invitational.
Compete against your friends on PGA Tour events. Win cash and bragging rights. Test your golf knowledge. Experience the success and failure of PGA Tour players. SG Tour app is an engaging golf experience designed by professional golfers that created a variety of games, including single and multi-day games, as well as tournament-long contests. It's really simple. Join or create a game. Pick 4 players and win cash. You can even immerse yourself in interactive features, including course strategy, putt predictor, and daily content exclusively from PGA Tour players. The word is out and golf fans are catching on. So don't miss out. Download the SG Tour app now.
It's the tour report for the Arnold Palmer Invitational around Bay Hill this week. I'm Diane Knox, joined by Steve Elkington, and we are about to re-rank the field and give you our top picks. Right, Elk, so we've talked a bit about Bay Hill and characteristics of the course, but let's look at the key stats that we're going to be talking about this week to re-rank the players.
Well, Diane, there's a number of stats that I'm looking very closely at, but the most important is, ball striking, guys that can actually hit the ball in the fairway and get it on the green. These greens are Bermuda grass and they're kind of flat, but this is all about precision. This is all about getting the second shots, getting the tee ball in play, getting the greens in reg numbers up, staying out of the water. Mm-hmm. It's a combination of stats, Diane, and you and I talk about this a lot, where on one hand, we look at stats, another hand, we look at current form, and another hand, we look at how they do on this course, which leads us to our number one guy.
Yes. Well, there's no surprise that number one this week, we've already mentioned him in our recap of last week, in that he finished runner-up and he played great. We see some stuff that Viktor Hovland can do, and just as a golf fan watching it, you admire him, you're so excited watching him, but you're also so excited for the career that this young guy has ahead of him, very much like Colin Morikawa. But Viktor Hovland coming in as our number one pick this week.
Yeah, Hovland looks good. He looks really fit, really strong right now. But I think the reason that I can throw out the stats on discussing Hovland right now. We all saw how he played last week. But I think the reason what he's got going for him right now, more than anything, Diane, is attitude. He's got the best outlook on everything right now. Some guys are, sort of doomsday. Hovland is always looking for the positives. He made a triple the Andy's day, I think on Friday. He came on the TV and talked about made one stupid mistake there, and that won't happen again. And he was just a joy to listen to. So to me, Hovland has got the right attitude. And I think he's going to come into Bay Hill. He's hitting the ball solid. It's not going to be a problem of him playing all these tough holes. He's very long. It's going to be all about getting the right strategy for him. But he sits on top of the board this week, rightly so.
And we talk about form. No one has better form than Hovland right now. In his last 3 starts on the PGA Tour, 2 second place finishes and a 5th place. And when you look at a European Tour finish that he had as well, that was 6th. So his form is amazing. As you say, his demeanour, he's a joy to watch on the course because he smiles. He has a way of thinking to make the most of the situations he can get himself into to, go on and make birdie.
Well, when you think about his teammate, Matthew Wolff, and you think about Hovland, and now here they are. They both came out together from Oklahoma State. Wolff shot out the gate with a win. Hovland was back here. Now we've got Hovland playing fantastic attitude. Everything's organized in his camp. And on Wolff, on the other hand, he's injured himself a couple of times. He had to withdraw after an 83 last week. I mean, it's just all not quite working for him. So we look very much at what's going on in the orb of the tour player, because that's really, Diane, all that counts.
Yeah, and you hope Matt Wolf's okay. You know, you don't know what else is going on there. He seems to be in a pretty dark place mentally when he's on the course right now. So you hope he's fine, and you hope that he can get out of it. And, you know, as we saw with Tiger last week, there's health things that have to come first before golf. And if he has got stuff going on, you hope he's fine. But as we say, Victor Hovland's just shining right now. When you look at his numbers, we've got him 8th in ball striking, 8th in par 4 birdie or better, 9th in birdie average. I mean, it's all just going green for him right now.
I always tell these guys, Diane, when they get in a little bit of a funk, of course, I'm not talking about Wolf here, but I always tell them, look, you're the poorest you're ever going to be right now. And I say, you play golf for a living and you travel, and everyone, when you get there, they can't wait to see you. Relax, enjoy yourself.
Yeah. Okay, coming in at number 2 is last year's champion around Bay Hill. The funny thing is, watching the API last year, whoever would have thought that, you know, COVID was about to happen. It was the last full tournament we saw before the pandemic hit, but the weather was terrible last year. Hatton won at 4 under par. I think Matthew Fitzpatrick was the only guy to shoot in the 60s for the whole weekend, and that was final round. But Hatton is now 5th in the world. He's won twice on the European Tour in the last 5 months. And you have to look at the defending champion, who still has great form, to go out there and have all the great feeling come back to him on Bay Hill.
Well, you're right, Diane. You know, Hatton is the best player coming out of Europe right now. He is a ball striker. Let's face it, he doesn't have to worry about length this week. He doesn't have, you know, it's all about accuracy at Bay Hill. Every one of these players, I talked to you this in before we got on the air about, yes, we are playing Bay Hill this week, but they're all got their minds a little bit to next week for the Players' Championship, because next week takes so much precision to play well at TPC. If they get their games in shape this week, they will be ready for next week. This is the sort of a mini Players' Championship, because you have so many shots that are asked to hit across water and be pin high. So this is Hatton's game. This is what he's proven to all of us over the last year. He's able to win 5 times worldwide on courses like Bay Hill. He's a striker of the golf ball, and that sits well for him.
He really is. I should mention Hovland's 12-1, Hatton's 16-1. The guy coming in at number 3 is 9-1. He's definitely the Vegas favourite this week. He won here in 2018. Rory Mcilroy, and when Rory's in the field, we're going to have him in the top 10 because it's impossible not to put him there.
Yeah, Rory is still sort of teetering around just outside of the limelight, but he hits the ball so well. What's going to make him click? Is it being at Arnold Palmer's tournament and thinking about what Arnold did for golf, and maybe Rory's going to be able to do something in his lifetime? Maybe he'll have a tournament someday and he'll have a Rory Mcilroy Invitational, you know, in 20 years from now. What can Rory conjure up to be able to focus or to pinpoint his focus just a little bit more, Diane, to push him? He almost plays terrible every week, and he's right there almost every week. So what's it gonna take? I don't know. He doesn't know, but we all know how good he is.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, he plays as he's won before, but when you look at the last 36 rounds around Bay Hill, he's number 6 when it comes to scoring average. I mean, as you say, we're never going to rule him out of anything because he's just so immensely talented. And he's playing great. He just came off a top 10 finish at Concession as well. I
was going to say, this is an easy course for Rory compared to some of the other guys, because Rory's so long off the tee. We talked at the top about dog legs. Dog legs aren't a big deal here for Rory. He gets to play across a lot of these dog legs, so he takes a lot of teeth out of Bay Hill. So it's a perfect setup for Rory.
Okay. The guy at number 4, well, we look at Bermuda grass. It was funny because Billy Horschel had made comment to that after playing at Concession and finishing second, that he was so happy to be back on Bermuda grass. Florida boy through and through. But we looked at the guys who really putt well on Bermuda grass, and Patrick Reed comes in at number 10 on that list. We're putting him at number 4 this week.
Yeah, Reed was there last week. You know, he had his game was on. He's been staying in Florida. He lives right here where I live in Houston. he moved out because of the weather was so bad. He's been down in Florida. He's very organized when it comes to, getting ready for tournaments. Reed's one of these guys, Diane. He's a little heavy set. He goes all over the world, but when he shows up, he looks limber. He's always looking like he's making a big swing at it. Best thing that Reed's got going for him is he drives it straight and he hits his irons good. He's just, he's already won this year at San Diego on a real tough test there. Perfect course for Reed.
It's his putting. He's number 1 putting average, first on the whole PGA Tour, second in birdie average, and third in par 4 birdie or better. When you see him on the greens, especially with a semi-makeable putt, you almost take for granted that he is going to make it. And if he doesn't, it's like you're shocked.
Can you imagine in your own heart, Diane, how much swagger you would have if you were playing on the tour and you were the number 1 putter on the tour and you walked onto the putting green and everyone on that green knows you're the best putter on the tour? I mean, think of even Rory, who's one of the great players of our time, must envy how good Patrick puts.
Yeah.
And it is such an advantage to have that in your persona, that everyone knows he's the best putter and it's going to work for him over the long haul.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. You look at some of these other guys' stats and you imagine if they were number 1, top 5, top 10 putting average, where they could be. The next guy, that's definitely the case for him, and we're going to talk about him next right here on the Tour Report. This week on the PGA Tour, we're off to Bay Hill in Orlando for the Arnold Palmer Invitational. We're doing our tour report to help you with your picks. I'm Diane Knox and Elk is here as well. We are going through our re-ranked top 10 right now. Victor Hovland is the man at the top, followed by Tyrrell Hatton, Rory Mcilroy and Patrick Reed. Now, Elk, we were just saying that Patrick Reed, number 1 on the whole tour in putting average. We saw him win at Torrey Pines at the start of the year. The guy that comes in at number 5, he's an incredible ball striker. If he could even have a little bit of Patrick Reed's putting, then, we'd be talking about him week after week in our top 10. But he definitely deserves his place in the middle this week, and that is Paul Casey.
Yeah, Casey moved up quite a bit this week, Diane, into our top 5 because he is probably... I'm saying this is the first time I've thought about it. I'd say behind Rory Mcilroy, a combination of driving it down the fairway and then knocking it easily on the green from anywhere on earth and playing the par 3s with ease, it would be Paul Casey. Now, there's people that I text with that say, if Paul Casey had putted like a 12 handicapper, he'd win all the time. Well, this course, just having great ball striking is going to help him a lot. Will he be able to put that putting form together like he did and won already overseas this year, I think in Saudi Arabia? We'll have to see, but certainly he'll be there, Diane, somewhere the way he hits the ball.
What with the greens around Bay Hill, they're slightly larger than average greens. I mean, how difficult are they, even if we compare them to the likes of Concession last week, Riviera that we saw the week before?
Now, this is a completely different set of greens in Concession. This is a relatively flat set of greens. All the trouble at Bay Hill is coming from the fairway in across the water. There's some tilt to some of the greens that protect the backs, but basically this is not a difficult course to putt on at all.
Okay. So next up, and I just mentioned Riviera, this guy really had that victory in his grasp for the Genesis Invitational, and you were just telling me, we knew that he had a commanding lead heading into Sunday, but even with 8 holes to go, he was 3 up. Max Homa went on to get that victory, but we have Sam Burns ranked at number 6 this week.
Yeah, so Sam Burns, Diane, had a 3-shot lead at Riviera with 9 holes to go. Just so you know, the pressure never is off you when you play on the PGA Tour. We talked about last week, Morikawa had to prove to himself and all of us that he could handle the new stroke, and he did so in spectacular fashion last week at Concession. Now Sam Burns has been in the lead 4 times after 54 holes with a 3-shot lead with 8 holes to go. That is a slightly weakening position to other tour players. They know that Sam Burns has never done it. And is that more pressure on him? Could be a little bit. But if I'm Sam Burns, I'm kind of pissed. I want to get back in there and prove that not only can I win a tournament, but I can win a bunch of them.
Yeah.
And of course, he's got all the stats to back it up. He's one of the best putters on Bermuda grass. So, yeah, Sam Burns deserves his spot.
Yeah, and he's an incredible ball striker. He hits the ball so far. His distance is unreal. He might be one where it's interesting to see what corners he tries to cut this week around Bay Hill.
Well, yeah, you're right. I think the smart players will play this. They won't go too crazy off, cutting the corners. Whenever I see Tiger win, which he's done so many times, you never saw him play Bay Hill crazy. He always protected himself with a 3-wood, or he was able to play, a long iron, or every once in a while let the driver go, but he never really got himself out of position. That's why he won so much there.
Yeah. And there's another guy where what you said just reminds me so much of him, and he just won at the end of last year. I don't want to give his name away yet, but it's exactly that smart play where he is such a long hitter and could bomb it. We're talking about the longest hitter next, though, because Bryson D Chambeau comes in at number 7 on our list. I saw an illustration on Twitter this morning, and it was the par 5-6 at Bay Hill. So, you've got tee box, and then it kind of curves around left to right, green. It's going to be about 350 yards carry from tee box to green. And they were saying, will Bryson go for it this week?
I reckon he'll go for it today and tomorrow and Wednesday, but I don't know if he'll go for it in the tournament, Diane. But our producer before the show said, I said, what's wrong with Bryson D Chambeau? He said, he hasn't quite connected with the golf course yet. We saw him last week start with a 77. Then he shot the course record the second day. Then he was on the green in 1, and then he didn't get back on the green for his 5th shot. So we talked about this, Diane, a couple of weeks ago. Bryson goes off. He doesn't play golf. He only practices golf. Comes back on tour. He's always stale, and it takes him a little while to get going again. Will he be disciplined this week and not just go crazy across the corners? I doubt it.
Okay.
Current US Open champion, we've got to somewhere.
Oh, okay. Well, Bryson D Chambeau 12-1 this week at 50-1. The guy that comes in at number 8, and he's the one that I was referring to just a couple of minutes ago. Jason Kokrak is such a long hitter, but he got his debut victory in the CJ Cup at Shadow Creek, a course where he decided to put the driver away for a lot of holes, and he really strategized what he was going to do. It paid off, and since then you just expect to see Kokrak's name in contention week after week right now, and it really has been.
Yeah, Kokrak's, I talked with him last night. He's a great friend of mine. He's just getting better. He's just becoming a tour player. What would be better to have in your life, Diane, would be to have a 350-yard drive and a 250-yard 3-iron if you wanted to play up. Well, he's got both. And when I think of Bay Hill, the reason Kokrak plays well here, it's got 7 par 4s at dogleg right to left. Guess which way he likes to hit the ball, right to left. But he plays the par 3s so easily, where I'm back there with a 3-iron or a 2-iron. He's hitting a 5-iron. He comes in from the moon. This is a really good fit for Jason Kokrak. It would not shock me to see Kokrak get his 2nd victory.
He's putting so much better, and because he's part of the Secret Golf team, we catch up with him every year at the Players' Championship. And I remember, I sit down with him every year. We talk about how well he plays in Florida and how much he looks forward to this time of the year. He's putting so much better, of course, putting on Bermuda grass this week. And with the form that we've seen from him lately, I agree with you. And I am so excited to see him in contention every week.
He's a big man. He's probably 6'5", 220 pounds. Ball speed, 120 mile an hour club head speed. If you ever got to go and see him live, it's really worth to go find him because he is a big person. But he's gotten better, but all the little stuff is what's doing it for him, Diane. I think that's great.
Okay, so we're going back to talking about the best putters on Bermuda grass, and this guy comes in at number 2. We saw incredible play from him at Concession last week. He finished runner-up here in 2019. We are putting Matthew Fitzpatrick at number 9.
Yeah, Fitzpatrick has proven to all of us how good he can play coming across from England. You know, one of the things that we see on TV is that shot tracer, you know, which we haven't seen before in our life. And I watch Fitzpatrick's shot tracer and it's almost dead straight, maybe a little fade. And I'm just so impressed with this guy. He's just sort of steady. Yeah. He's not the longest. He putts good. It's weird, he putts with the pin in from like 3 feet away. And, you know, every putt, he leaves the pin in. It's like, is he playing a practice round? But just got this vibe about him that he's going to get the job done. Bones Mackay, who's a announcer on TV, caddied for Mickelson for a long time, caddied for Fitzpatrick, talked about how strategic he thinks and how important it is to be in the correct places. I like that. I like that when I hear that from a caddy, because a caddy might say, oh, no, I've got to rein this guy in. He wants to do this. He wants to do that. No, like I said, Fitzpatrick runs the ship. He knows what he's doing, and that's why he's sitting in our top 10 this week.
Mm-hmm. And then completing, well, I should say Fitzpatrick is 25 to 1. We talked about Kokrak a few minutes ago. He's 50 to 1. And then the last guy in at number 10, 45 to 1. He's a former champion here, winning in 2017. And it's safe to say now that Mark Leishman is back. We've already had a top 5 finish from him in Hawaii at the start of the year. He's been playing so much better. So it's one of those circumstances where we kind of throw out his current stats and we look at how well he plays around this course, a course that obviously he's won on before, and he had a great finish here last year.
Yeah, Leishman's won at Bay Hill. He finished second last year. Yeah, Diane, you know how quickly I'll throw stats out when it gets a player that's in form, that's coming to a place that he really knows how to play. I played some golf with Leishman. I know how strong he is. You know, he also is an excellent Bermuda putter. But you know what? I can sit here all day and tell you he's a long hitter, cuts corners, knows what he's doing, plays strategic, he's patient, all those things. But he plays good here at Bay Hill. That's the main thing. Unlike me, and I had no chance at Bay Hill, but Leash is a good bet.
He finished 7th here in 2018 as well. So he deserves that place at number 10. So our full re-ranked top 10 for the API this week: Victor Hovland, Tyrrell Hatton, Rory Mcilroy, Patrick Reed, Paul Casey, Sam Burns, Bryson D Chambeau, Jason Kokrak, Matthew Fitzpatrick, and Mark Leishman. A couple of notables to talk about quickly, and people may be saying, where's Jordan Spieth? How can you not put Jordan Spieth in your top 10? Didn't play the WGC last week because he wasn't in the field. He was an alternate, which we were talking about this earlier, mind-blowing. He's coming off excellent play, but he has never, ever played this event before. His first time ever around Bay Hill. I mean, I just can't believe it.
Yeah, we couldn't get him up into the top 10, Diane, just for exactly what you said. He's never played in this tournament before. I'd be shocked if he hasn't played the golf course, but he'll be playing a practice round with Ricky Fowler and probably Jason Duffner. He's going to learn about Bay Hill. But look, Jordan Spieth's playing good golf. When he missed a shot at all in the last few weeks, he wants to make the ball go right to left, which is perfect at Bay Hill. And he's putting probably as good as anyone in the field. So, yes, it was worth talking about. I cannot put him into the top 10, Diane, because he doesn't have any experience here. But Jordan Spieth clearly is well back on track. I don't want to hear any more about Kenny, this, that, whatever. He's there. He's there.
And then, well, you alluded to it there that Jordan could be playing practice rounds with his buddy, Ricky Fowler. Ricky Fowler is one of the biggest lovers of Arnold Palmer, and you see that he'll have all his gear this week with the iconic umbrella symbol on it. What do you think about where Fowler's game's at right now, and well, when it's going to turn around for him?
I think Fowler is coming around, and I say that because he played okay out west. A lot of players that are, live on the East Coast like Ricky does, it's a huge relief to get out back on the East. Jack Nicklaus, for example, never even started his tour until he got to the East Coast at Doral. He never went west ever because he said it ruined his game. I'm thinking that Ricky Fowler is going to be okay. This week right here, he's played good at Bay Hill before, but all this familiar territory this week, next week, where he won at the Players' Championship, putting on flat Bermuda greens. Ricky knows how to play this golf course. Is he still working on his swing? Probably. What's he looking for? He's looking for consistency. He's got to hit the ball solid. When he mishits the ball, he's scrambling all the time and he can't make a score. So what will get him back? Get it in the fairway and then got to hit it solid. So this will be very familiar with him. This should be a good feeling for him to come to Bay Hill.
Okay. And putting's always been the strength of Fowler's game. So as you say, with these larger greens this week, flat Bermuda grass, something that he's used to, then, hopefully we could see a bit of a spark from Ricky and a bit of a jump up, kind of where we want to see him week after week.
Want to see him hitting it solid. A tour player, when he gets off a little bit, you've got to simplify things. You will have a tendency to make it more complicated. You'll want to change your swing, change your backswing, fix the downswing position, fix my putting, fix my chipping. But Hovland, look at the top of the board. Everything's very simple. So, get on camera if you need to. Get one position solid. We've talked about this with your brother, who now has abandoned going after distance. Talk about Russell Knox, and now leads the tour in greens and reg, and things have completely turned around for him. He's satisfied where he sits now and what he's doing with his swing. I haven't moved off Ricky, but I'm saying, get it simple somehow.
All right then. Well, still to come, we're going to go through our Sizzlers. We've got 3 for you this week. We have 3 dark horse picks, and also, could it be redemption time again for me in the Secret Golf Celebrity Showdown? We've got all the details coming right up.
Compete against your friends on PGA Tour events. Win cash and bragging rights. Test your golf knowledge. Experience the success and failure of PGA Tour players. SG Tour app is an engaging golf experience designed by professional golfers that created a variety of games, including single and multi-day games, as well as tournament-long contests. It's really simple. Join or create a game, pick 4 players, and win cash. You can even immerse yourself in interactive features, including course strategy, putt predictor, and daily content exclusively from PGA Tour players. The word is out and golf fans are catching on. So don't miss out. Download the SG Tour app now.
You're going to see that iconic red, green and yellow umbrella everywhere this week for Arnold Palmer. It is the Arnold Palmer Invitational at Bay Hill, and we are giving you our tour report. So we've gone through our re-ranked top 10, and we've talked about Jordan Spieth and Ricky Fowler. Could it be a good week for them? I mean, we think so. We're hoping so anyway. But we have our Sizzlers. Now, these are guys that when we put all the stats into our system and looked at some of those intangibles, they really jumped up. And the first one we're going to kick off with is Kevin Kisner. Now, Kisner's 80-1, and I loved a quote from him at the start of the year where he said that he's never going to play Torrey Pines. He's a little bit older now. He's been on tour for a while. He really picks and chooses the courses where he's going to do best at.
Yeah, our Sizzlers, Diane, that we're going to talk about are guys that fall into the other side of this equation, which is who are the guys that have the ego enough in check to where they're not going to try to cut the corners. They're going to play the golf course the way they can do it, the way Tom Kite did it, Lauren Roberts did it, Matt Every did it. These shorter, medium range hitters who is patient enough to not take the bait. Kevin Kisner, he is not going to take the bait. He is going to play the golf course to his strengths. You've already told me offline that he's in the top 10 of 5 best putters on Bermuda grass, but Kisner is a medium range hitter. knows how to play this golf course, and he is going to do just that.
Yeah, these were stats that the last 36 rounds on Bermuda grass, who's putted the best. Kevin Kisner comes in at number 6 on that list, but for the whole PGA Tour this season, he's 8th putting average. So it really shows you where the strength of his game is. It's getting to that spot on the green and then making the putt.
Yeah, and I don't want to overstate this, but he's not long enough off the tee to do some of the crazy stuff. So it relaxes you at some point. It makes the fairway wider because I'm not going over there. I'm going here. Yeah. And he just plays his game. And now we're going to see this. It's a little bit risky for us to take guys that are medium range hitters, but this history of this event has said it will work.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so Kevin Kisner is our first Sizzler. Second guy, he is 125 to 1. And I know I keep harping on about this Bermuda grass putting, but he is number 1 on the list. Patton Cassier is our man for our second Sizzle pick.
Yeah, Patton Cassier. Every person that plays on the tour knows that Patton putts like Ben Crenshaw.
Yeah.
I've talked to Patton myself. I said, mate, all you got to do is just get it in play and play to your strengths, get it onto the green. And he understands that, and it's coming together. But when Patton gets hot, we saw him do it in Cancun. We saw him do it in Hawaii. He just absolutely puts the field away, just blows him away. Can he put it together at Bay Hill and be the number 1 putter of the week on this Bermuda-type grass? We know he knows that he's number 1 on Bermuda grass putting. Huge advantage. Can he mentally take advantage of that by putting his ball in play? If I'm him and his caddy, I'd relax. Yeah. I'd say, let's play over here. Let's get it on. Let's play the putter.
He's coming off a week off. He lives in Sea Island. I saw some pictures of him practicing his putting with his little boy Palmer, who just turned 1. So he's going to be feeling nice and fresh. And I'm going to talk about our next Sizzler because this is a conversation I had with him. But the West Coast swing is long. And, you know, if you played Hawaii, then you get to California, it kind of makes sense because geographically you're kind of close there. Then you can work your way down through all of those events. And it must be kind of like, well, I'm out here, so why not play? And then the guys that weren't in the WGC, they know they're going to get a little bit of a break before playing this event and then moving on to the players. So it has to be a good kind of like rest and relaxation week for them.
Yeah, it's nice to get back on this side of the coast. I mean, we used to talk about on tour, Diane, I remember some veteran players where they said on the West Coast that everyone was happy to one another. They're all saying hello to one another. They couldn't wait until they got to Doral, where everyone was mad at one another and the wind's blowing 30 miles an hour and nobody could hit a fairway. They just couldn't wait to get off the West Coast. But speaking about wind and and all that, your brother, who is, I'll introduce him, Russell Knox, is our third Sizzler this week. Number 1, Diane, in greens and reg, has been through the gauntlet of sort of a down period and now has worked his way all the way up, was right near the lead at Pebble Beach, and now he's back at home soil here. Loves this course. Perfect setup for Russell Knox.
Do you know, it's funny because he wasn't going to play this week. And it was because he did exactly what I just said. He played the Sony Open, then did all the events out on the West Coast. And he missed a cut at the Genesis Invitational. And I said to him, do you just hate that course? And he's like, I don't hate it. I'm just always tired. Like, I've played so much that I'm tired. So his thought was that he was going to come home and have 2 weeks at home before the players. But he said, I committed to Bay Hill because I feel great. He said, I was home for a couple of days. I'm not tired. I don't feel lethargic. I miss being out on the road. So I signed up and I'm like ready to get back out there, which that's so encouraging to hear.
Yeah, you know, it's interesting when you say, and I hear it on TV a lot, where players get tired. And you would say Max Honma, you know, he just played the whole West Coast. He won LA, and now he said he was going to take 2 days off, not go to the golf course, to rest. And I want to tell people on this show that there's tired. Like if you went outside and chopped wood all day, that's tiring. Or if you went for a jog all day, that's tiring. But when you're in contention, you're physically tired, but you're mentally tired. And that combination kind of closes you in. Mm-hmm. It kind of like, I don't want to be out there right now. I'm not energized enough to go hit balls. I can't do anything. And it takes a little bit to get that energy level back up. But it's the combination. People will say, well, there's a millionaire. He just won $100,000. You should be jumping up and down. But you don't feel right because you're tired from the fatigue. So you've got to get over the fatigue. And what your brother's saying is true. Once you get refreshed, you're ready.
And I think for him, he's seen such a great turnaround in his game, capped off with that 7th place finish at Pebble Beach, that I think he's just like, oh no, I'm like ready for this. I'm seeing such great results in the work I'm putting in that I want to keep it going. So I love that attitude. But as you say, you know, Russell's strength is playing that second shot into the green. If he can just make the putt, then woo!
Well, that's right. And let's not forget, Diane, that as great as Tiger Woods and Jack Nicklaus are, we only ever saw them 15 times a year. Mm-hmm. So think about that. We would only see them just a little over once a month at their prime of only playing 15 events a year. So when they came to the golf, though, they were ready to roll.
Mm-hmm. And Russell is 160-1. So that's our 3 sizzlers. Kevin Kisner at 80-1, Patton Cassier at 125-1, and as we said, Russell. So still to come, Jay Kaplan's going to be here with our dark horse picks. Failed miserably last week. I need to get it together. I really do, because we are now moving on to, which is my favorite part of the show, but it's quickly becoming my most dreaded, the Secret Golf Celebrity Showdown.
This, of course, is where we pick 4 players on our team and compete against one another with a celebrity guest and everyone else that wants to play with us. I have been on a little bit of a roll, I must tell you, Diane. I have just been consistently making the cut with my players and just hedging my way along. I have got a nice lead over you, and nothing would make me feel even better. I might even take your brother and then kick your booty some more this week. Who knows?
It's Celebrity Showdown.
So we are back for the Secret Golf Celebrity Showdown. I'm sure by now you know how it works. We have our SG Tour Golf gaming app, and we have the showdown that runs as a game each week. Elk and Jay and myself all play, and we're joined by a celeb guest each week too. Now you can join in and play and go against all of us. We keep a running leaderboard, and it's a sore point for me right now because my place has been solidified at the bottom of the leaderboard week after week. However, I do keep saying, it's going to turn around one week. But we always root for our celeb guest. Last week, it was Chelsea Pizzola, who was live on site at Concession, and she was the only person in the whole game to pick Collin Morikawa. So we're getting some good picks, and I feel it's going to continue this week. We are joined by Travis Fulton. Now, Travis has a podcast of his own, and he's a golf coach as well. Travis, thank you for being here.
You bet. Thanks for having me. It's a tough follow there. She picked the winner last week with Morikawa. I better bring it this week. Jeez, what a pick.
I know, right? Elk and I had said this when we talked to her. She had seen something, like she saw this exchange between Morikawa and Azinger at the start of the week, and we were like, why didn't we listen to her more?
Well, as you know, Travis will know this too, being a coach, that, Morikawa was, messing around with his grip on his putting, and he really kind of putted terrible out on the West Coast. He sunk way down in the rankings, but all of a sudden it clicked for him last week, and everybody was off of him because he hasn't proven it. But I was listening, watching, I'm sure you were too, Travis, watching how this would go under pressure. But mate, he put the claw to it, quietened everything down with his stroke, and he was able to just pretty much control the whole tournament.
Yeah, it's amazing what just a change in your putting grip can do, right? I think he even consulted with Mark O'Mara, who of course you know and played many years with, and helped him with the grip. And what a change. I think he was negative 7.6 strokes gained the week before. And then he turns around and goes positive 4. And he's such a good ball striker that if he just putts at all, he's going to be at the first page of the leaderboard. And of course, we know that he can put some wins away, as he's done it now 4 times.
Yeah. Travis, what do you think about the tour these days, and the fact that, on Sunday at one point we had Victor Hovland, obviously Morikawa, Scotty Scheffler, like these young guys that are really dominating week after week. It's so great for the sport.
Yeah, it is. They're ready to play. They come out there, they know what they're doing. They're very confident in their ability. And I think when you talk about Morikawa, Hovland, and Scheffler, they all win with the driver. They can drive the ball very well. Morikawa kind of last week, like, well, he's not long. Well, he's 295. I mean, he's not exactly short, so they have enough distance, but they're very accurate. They hit that little fade off the tee, and then they're good approach game players. And as you know, Elk, you've got to win with your ball striking, and then you kind of wait on those good putting weeks, and you get those good putting weeks. And I think these guys can win because they've played in competition for so long. So Morikawa has certainly been the most impressive, but I think Hovland is right there behind him as he continues to improve his short game. And Scheffler, I mean, he's just an absolute machine off the tee, and I think he's got staying power on the PGA Tour as well.
Probably throw one other guy, and that Alexander Schauffele, that doesn't curve the ball, as you just noted, of the other two. I always like watching your videos on Twitter where you explain how these guys curve the ball. Morikawa, I talked about it on the show yesterday with everyone, and is the bar going to finally bend a little bit where the focus gets away from everybody trying to hit it miles off the tee and focus back to like precision ball striking? I mean, for us, when I played the tour, let's see, 290 was the longest driver on tour. Dan Pohl, everyone else on tour was somewhere about 265, 270, but we didn't really worry about it. We just kind of knock it down there like that beautiful hole that Diane is. It all came about good iron play. There was so many good iron players on tour when I was there, and that was the guys we went to watch, whether it was Lenny Watkins, who literally could hit the flag at any moment, Hal Sutton, Hale Irwin, Calvin Peete. That was the guys that I went and looked at it. And Travis, is the bar bending? Are these guys going to move away from what Bryson's going for? Because a lot of these guys have ruined their swings going after distance, and they can't hit their irons that good.
I don't think so. I think you're always going to have a few that are going to chase distance, like we saw with Jordan, that he kind of lost it there a little bit. But I think when you look at Bryson, he's a little bit of an outlier, the extreme that he's taking it to. I think he needs to get back to the approach game because that's where he's losing it right now. He's plenty long off the tee, but his approach game with his irons is not as sharp as it needs to be to take full advantage of that length. But I don't think, I think Hovland has kind of strategically went after a little bit more distance, just kind of slowly lengthening it out. And they kind of have that, he has that, nuclear swing, as they call it. How you have that swing where I'm going to go to it to try to get 10 more, but you don't always go to it. So I think there's, on the PGA Tour, you have to have the approach game, as you know, and Hovland and Morikawa have it, and they're very consistent, and they're long enough off the tee to be competitive. I think you have to be long enough, right, to be competitive. And certainly if you can get it out there in that 320 mark and have that solid approach game, then you have the chance to be relatively dominant. But with these young players, they're plenty long. And man, Morikawa, in my opinion, has been the best iron player in the world now for quite some time.
Well, it's interesting. It's an interesting tournament this week. There's only two kind of players that have won at Bay Hill. As you know, Tiger Woods would be the first, which is a complete bomber of the ball, plays a lot of precision. Then we've had a real outlier group of players that have won at Bay Hill, like Lauren Roberts, the shortest player on tour, won it twice. Tom Kite's won there. Diane's buddy from Jack's Beach.
Not every
won it twice. So there is a way to play Bay Hill, Jay, the short way, so to speak, if the ego doesn't get involved and they just play their game and they've got a bag of clubs that work on these long par threes and long approaches. Jay, what are you thinking about this week?
Well, the one thing I like is, Elk, you just pulled Travis's picks right out from thin air. He's starting to kind of foreshadow maybe what his team's going to look like. He threw in a couple names, so I'm sort of feverishly jotting down some mental notes so I can counter what he's going to pick. But we'll get to that in a minute. And the other thing is, one thing just as a outsider and a fan, I love this tournament because it's just in this neighborhood, right? It's in this old school neighborhood that winds through there. It's Arnie's deal. And we really don't know who's going to win this thing. Like you've said, Elk, there's guys that come out of nowhere and win. And then, like Travis alludes to, there's bigger names. Of course, me growing up in the Tiger era, it was always his tournament. He seemed to almost win it every year, if not every other year. So it's a shame, obviously, with what's going on with him. But I'm looking forward to hearing Travis's picks officially hit the world here in a second.
I know.
Well, Diane, with Travis being a coach, Travis, are you going to use your swing knowledge, or are you going to use your experience, or are you going to use some gut? What's your combo?
Well, I kind of nerd out on this stuff. I like to do deep dive. I do my own show with gambling show. It's called Cash Out with the Coaches. So we kind of ham and egg this every single week. I certainly don't play golf swing. I have to stay away from that. As you know, you can't be playing golf swing out there. You have to look at it. But, Bay Hill, I've played it many times. And it is interesting to hear those winners, the Tom Kite, the Lauren Roberts, Tiger, of course, whatever he played in that era seemed to win about every other year. So it's you almost kind of throw Tiger out because he was just so dominant. But Terrell Hatton was a guy that kind of fits the mold here. This international flavor to this tournament is real. And, Matt Every is the last American to win here, and he did it back to back in 13 and 14. So there's certainly an international flavor to Bay Hill. The Europeans play well here. And I think with my picks, you'll probably see that.
Okay. I like this. We always root for the celebrity. I mean, I'm highly competitive and always want to
I don't root for the celebrity.
I do.
That's not true.
Especially with Travis and that t-shirt this week. I mean, you can't really argue with that. So we're going to get right into your picks, Travis. This is how it works. Obviously, you get on the SG Tour Golf Gaming app, and then the field is divided into 4 tiers of players. Now, as Alex said at the beginning, you want your guys to make the cut, because if they miss the cut, they get marked down for an 80 Saturday and Sunday. And we're looking for the lowest score for the full team at the end of the tournament. So it gets a bit more interesting as we move through the tiers, but we're going to kick off with Tier A, aka the big guns. Travis, who are you picking?
So in Tier A, I'm going to go with Terrell Hatton. I know, defending champion, but he's been playing great golf since that. I mean, this is a guy to me who just has continued to get better and better over the last few years, and he's won twice now in the last 5 months on the European Tour. Won the Order of Merit. He comes over here. He can handle these windy conditions. In fact, I think, the more the grind, I think the better Terrell seems to perform. So I think this is a good place for him. He proved it last year. He was 22nd last week at Concession Club. And what held him back was his short game was just awful. I mean, he lost 6 strokes around the green, but the rest of his game was great. So I don't think he'll do that again this week. That was a bit of an outlier. I think his form is good. I think he's got a very good chance to come in here and defend. So give me Hatton for Tier A.
Hatton's a good pick. We talked about, he was in our top 10 yesterday. You're right about, he's the best Euro player right now. He hits it straight. He doesn't have to stretch the tee ball at all this week. He can just play his game. I mean, this course obviously suits players. To me, I think this golf course suits people. Me, it didn't suit me. I was one of these guys. Maybe it was attitude, maybe not. But I always found myself at Bay Hill not long enough to carry the corners like Tiger, and not short enough to have to play the corner like Tom Kite. So I was always on, there's 12 dog legs at Bay Hill, as you know, and I was always pinched in the corner. Hatton's already won there. He's such a straight hitter. It's a solid, no doubt.
So this week we ranked our statistics, Travis.
Okay.
And we called them the big 3: ball striking, scrambling, and putting average. Hatton comes in 35th in ball striking. His putting average is 9th. So anytime you're in the top 10 on tour, you're an elite putter. His Achilles is that scrambling. You alluded to it last week. I don't think it might be an outlier. I do like this pick because he's going to have good vibes coming back to a place where he's defending. Be interested to see this week if he can regain some of that touch around the greens if he needs it. Pretty good pick here to start.
Yeah. And larger than average greens around Bay Hill as well. So maybe the scrambling is not going to be so vital. And let's not forget, he's the highest ranked player in the world in the field, which is just amazing. And I feel like last year, with Bay Hill last year was the last full event that we had before COVID struck and everything changed. And it was almost bad timing for Hatton because that win kind of put him as one of the big players in golf, on the map. And then that little break, but didn't seem to affect him too much when he came out afterwards. Anyway, right, tier A pick is Tyrrell Hatton. We're all for that. So moving on, B tier, who have you got? I think I know the answer to this anyway.
Well, it's awful tough to look away from Viktor Hovland right now. Last 5 starts, I think he's got 4 top 4s. And he is the real deal. I think he's right there with Colin Morikawa from a ball striking standpoint. I mean, Colin maybe is just a slight edge ahead of him with his iron game, but his short game struggles a little bit. I've kind of moved short game down a little bit in my model this week. Not that it's not important. It's just not as important for me as some of the others. And I think this is a good spot for Hovland, who's got limited play here. I actually played with Viktor at this event in the Pro-Am right after he won the U.S. Amateur, and he was still an amateur at the time. And he was talking about that he thinks this could be a good venue for him as we were walking around. So I believe he's getting his 2nd start here. But this is just a recent form pick. I mean, Elk, you get going and your confidence is so high. It doesn't matter where you play. You're just hitting it great. You're putting great. It's like, just give me a ball on a tee and get out of my way. And that's kind of what I see with Viktor right now. He just looks so confident in everything that he's doing. If he can stay away from that big number, he's prone to that double and triple. That's my only thing that kind of worries me with him. But man, he is a hot player right now.
Yeah, we talked about it on the show. I don't know what he came in, Diane, his top 5.
Yes, we have him at number 1 this week.
To me, Travis, a couple of things that you didn't allude to on why I love Hovland so much is, one was when he's a very relaxed guy, but he's got such a good attitude. I mean, when you think about his almost stablemate that came out with Matthew Wolff, Wolff has all kind of problems right now, whether it's mental or whether it's swing action or whether it's just, I don't know what it is with Wolff, but Wolff is not in step. But when you look at Hovland, he drives the tour. I mean, he gets in his car and drives. And Jackie Burke, I talked about it on the show yesterday, used to tell me, get in your car and drive. You need that 5 or 6 hours of separation where you can relax and think about what you're going to be trying to do in a Bay Hill. Now, that's a little extreme because this is a close drive from one to the other, but Hovland's attitude is superior right now.
Yeah, for sure.
I'll probably pick in my B group too.
Yeah, I love this pick. I don't want to say it's the obvious pick. It's really the only pick. I mean, this is the hottest guy going. He's we have him not just ranked at the top of our ranking, but he comes in ranked 1st in form as well. 8th in ball striking, 9th in birdie average, 8th par 4 or better. I mean, the guy's a machine right now. And Elk, you just alluded to it. He just has this disposition for a young guy to be able to hop in his car and drive the States and kind of live this incredible life. I feel like he's a guy that feels like he's just in a very fortunate spot. So mentally he's in a good place. If he doesn't win this week, he's winning next week. It's one of the two. So maybe he'll win both. Maybe he'll just go on an ultimate tear. So we'll see.
Good. I like the creativity that you see with Hovland on the course as well. So yeah, as you say, I think most people are going to be picking Viktor Hovland for the B tier this week. Maybe I'll just mix it up and do something completely left field.
He's in good shape. He looks thinner and looks really strong right now. Hovland does. Mm-hmm. Very.
Okay then, right, we're moving through, and when we get to C and D, this is when it gets a little more interesting because, as we said, you want to pick guys that are going to make the cut. So tier C, Travis, who you got?
Well, in the beginning of the year, our preview show that we did, there were a few names that I threw out there that I thought were going to really take the next step this year, come onto the scene. One of them was Will Zalatoris, who we've seen play very well. He was in the WGC last week, for crying out loud, in short start. I mean, he's the real deal. Sam Burns was another. I really like Sam. I think he's the modern player and was kind of just finding his way here a little bit on tour, getting comfortable. You made a good point, Elk, about the dog legs. I think Sam will carry the dog legs. He's a long hitter, and I think he's a very underrated approach game player. He's a really good iron player, and he's an excellent putter too, in particularly on Bermuda. He grew up in Louisiana. So I think this is a good venue for him, and it's a good field. You got some good guys here like Rory and Bryson who are not playing particularly well. Viktor's, in my mind, probably the favorite as far as form coming in. So I think this is a good spot for Burns that if things kind of fall his way, I think this is a place where he could win. We almost saw him win at Genesis his last time out, and I think he'll keep his good form going here again this week.
Yeah, Burns, I've loved Burns all year. You know, I followed him when he was, a kid. He's come up to the Champions Club and played golf when he was younger. So strong. I think I don't know, I saw him play so much more golf at Riviera than I'd normally get to see Burns, but he's swinging his iron game's a little better. He looks like can't really put my finger on what he's working on, but he looks real rotational, and he's very much under control with his ball striking. He did have a 3-shot lead with 8 holes to go at Riviera. He won't be very happy about that. This is the 4th time I think he's had the lead going to Sunday. So I talked on the show yesterday about there's a different kind of pressure now on Burns. Do other players see him giving up a lead, and does that weigh on a player? Could. There was other guys like Tom Watson that blew a ton of leads, and I'm not saying he blew this lead at Riviera because Riviera back nine's up for anyone. But he'll have to get through that. And I said it on the show. I think he's kind of mad about everything. And I do love Burns a lot. I don't know if he'll handle the dog legs as Travis. You're right. He will cut across them. Experience is huge, right? There's a lot of guys in this field that I would probably pick different in category C than Burns, even though I love Burns. There's a real tendency of guys to play good again at Bay Hill.
Yeah, Elk, you've gotten me on the Burns kick here, Elk. I mean, you keep mentioning his name every week, and we keep seeing him near the top of the leaderboard. My question is he adopting this I fade late mentality? And when you say he's done it 4 times, he's been in contention, he's lost leads, he's just lost a lead 2 weeks ago, and he was in prime position to get his first win. So I look at our rankings and I see across the board, everything looks great. And then there's this sore thumb that sticks out, 184 in scrambling. It's our second most important statistic this week, which just tells me late. Is he going to be tense? Is he going to have touch when he needs it? Not so sure. I'm not so sure this is the course this week that he's going to feel like I can keep a lead if I get up there or if I'm in contention. But hey, Travis, you got a nice young team starting to line up here. You got a bunch of young guys. I keep waiting for a veteran to anchor it down. So I guguess we'll see here in Tier D.
Get ready for Sabatini or somebody.
Going back to that, what you were saying there, Jay, it's just part of the PGA Tour. And I don't think it matters about experience or how many times you've been there. And Tony Finau's name's going to come up again and again, really being in contention on Sunday. That pressure, Elk, you can tell us, I don't think it matters how many times you have it. It's still final day pressure on the PGA Tour.
Final day pressure is different. I mean, we will talk about it in a minute about Finau and Morikawa and other guys, Tiger Woods. There's a certain, we will talk about this after we get the D done.
Yeah. Okay. Right. We're going for it then. So, the final guy to join your 4-ball team, Travis. Who is it?
Well, I'm going with the Aussie. Going with the Cameron Davis here. He was my 3rd guy coming in that I felt like could, take some steps this week as well. And you can see how I kind of tend to probably lean towards the ball strikers, a little bit. And, short game is certainly important. But, when you look at Cameron Davis, he's really good off the tee and he's good in the approach game, so he's I think when you look at Bay Hill, there's some big par 3s. I think he's very strong in that aspect as well. I think he takes care of the par 5s. So I kind of like the way this sets up for Cameron Davis as well. I like the way he's trending. He can get a little clunky around the greens. He's a little bit of an inconsistent putter, but who isn't, for some degree? There's some consistent putters, and there's probably a debate as we get to Finau and Morikawa. Would you rather be an inconsistent putter with a higher ceiling or that consistent putter across the board with a little lower bottom? So I like Cameron here. I think he's trending. I think he's going to be a good young player. And I think this is another spot that we could see. I don't need him to win, right? I don't need all these guys to win. A nice solid top 10. How about from the Aussie Cameron Davis? That one's for you, Elk, by the way.
Yeah. Cam Davis lives out in Seattle now, right?
I don't know.
I think he does, yeah, because we've been big on him for a while, so we've been stalking Cameron Davis a little bit.
Yeah, I don't know that. Yeah.
Yeah, Cam. I mean, Travis told us that he wasn't going to pick all good swings, but then he went ahead and picked all good swings. So that's cool.
Good, yeah.
I don't blame you one bit, Travis. Cam Davis it's a solid pick. There's probably some, he doesn't have a lot of experience at Bay Hill, but he has so much upside, Cam Davis. I mean, the guy can hit it almost as good left-handed. I don't know if you've ever seen that video on YouTube, but if you haven't, pull it up. I mean, he won the Australian Open. He certainly plays good on big courses. The question always becomes there's always a guy that comes up at Bay Hill, whether it's a Lauren Roberts or, and will this sort of, I suppose Cam Davis is a longish hitter. How will he play this course with experience level? This is a set of flat greens. You're right. Short game may not be as important, but when you play the long path threes and you start missing greens at Bay Hill, then it becomes really important. So weather has a fair amount to do with whether short game is going to come into play on this week or not. But Cam Davis is solid. I don't think you have the winning team, but it's a good team.
I think you've laid out a really quality team, and I like that Travis, you've taken a little bit of a risk here. Of course, he's a good player. We have him ranked 25th this week on the SG Tour ranking. He is 131st in the official World Golf ranking. That stuff doesn't matter. Dude, you just need this guy to make the cut. All right. If he can make the cut and hang around on the weekend with the three stallions that you've laid out at the top of your picks, you're going to be in contention. So I'm going to put a little mark here by Cameron Davis and just keep my eye on him. And then we'll see if you're a serious threat or not to Elk and myself. Diane's sort of, down there. We kind of yell at her and hear an echo down there with her picks. But I think it's a good team.
Diane picks a brother and then the other hot guys that she thinks look hot this week. So
it's not
that's how she picks it.
It's usually guys with white pants. That's always the first sign.
Just wait till you see who my D pick is this week. And Travis, your picks are now locked in. We are allowed to change our team up until play starts on Thursday morning. So we take your information on board, but your guys are now locked in. And as we said, I think you have a solid team in the works. You guys both were talking about, you mentioned Tony Fina a few times. I just want to touch on that. Obviously finishing second. He's had 2 second place finishes recently at the Genesis, obviously. Farmers had a good finish at the American Express as well. Travis, what do you make of Fina right now? And do you think that there is this ongoing issue of him not being able to close it out on a Sunday?
Well, there's no question. There's an issue not being able to close. I mean, he's been there so many times. What is it, 37 top 20s? I think since 2014 or 15, somewhere in there. The next closest is like Streelman at 16. I mean, it's an absurd number. He had every opportunity to win at Riviera for sure. Homa let him back in. I think when I look at Fina, he's certainly one of the best players out there in the game and most consistent as far as getting up there and having the firepower, the approach game. And I think his putting has gotten better over a course of a period of time when compared to years past. I think his putting kind of takes the hit for the reason why he doesn't win. But when I watch him, I think it's all situational, and it's a number of things. It's his ball striking tends to fade. So I think it's more than his putting the reason that he's not winning. You look at him on the 72nd hole at Riviera, they're tied for the lead, 320-yard drive. He makes birdie there, he wins, and he misses the green with a wedge. And then you go to the first playoff hole, the 10th, and he's got not an easy up and down, but certainly the place you want to be from. And he leaves it above the hole, 7 feet above the hole, which you can't do there. And then, of course, the second playoff hole, he hooks it and short sides himself. So I think there's a lot of things, just nerves, Elk, that are just there when the heat is on. And I think it's more than the putting. He's certainly not one of the best putters in the world, but I think he's an improved putter. And I think he's a good enough putter, but situationally, he's just not getting it done when the chips are down and saying, look, you got to hit a shot here to win, whatever it is. And he just hasn't been able to pull it off for whatever reason. And then you look at Morikawa, who gets in the hunt and he has staying power and he can put you away. So, boy, I don't know. you know he's going to be there. The question is can he get it done with all the clubs when it counts?
Yeah, and the question that we talked about on Twitter yesterday was which one would you take under pressure? And look, they're both excellent. I mean, they're both at the top of their game, and it comes down to someone's got to win. You're right. Tony should have won Riviera. He should have. Once that Honma got it on the green at number 10 in the playoff, that's an up and down that he should have been able to get that up and down. I mean, for him to hit that 7 feet by from down below, that was he's hit that way too hard, and then he's got to make that putt. But I think with Finau, is it his technique? His stroke is certainly not that good from 5 feet. What does that mean? Is it a little wobbly? Yeah, it's probably a little wobbly. It's not as certain as some of the other guys' strokes. Morikawa obviously went to a claw grip, which kind of quietens everything down. I mean, we both know what they're trying to do with the claw grip. They're trying to take out any hit they have in the stroke. Tony's kind of using a new stroke now. He already knows that the guys in the commentary box are talking about him when he's coming down the stretch as if, so that's a distraction. We, of course, know the greatest closer of Tiger Woods. The commentators are talking the opposite. How many times would Tiger have not gotten down on 10 at Riviera? Probably none, right? On number he would have got up and down there. So I'm not even sure where the argument or the discussion goes to. I think Finau has got to get better from 5 feet and in. He shot 64 at Riviera. He's just got to be better at converting from inside of 5 feet, no matter where he is on the green.
Okay. Right, well, Travis, thank you so much for being on the show today. We have loved having you on. Tell us about your podcast, where we can find it, what it's all about.
Yeah, my weekly podcast, Stripe Show Podcast. You can catch it out there on iTunes. And we also do a show similar to this called Cash Out with the Coaches with Sports Pub Media. And we do that every Tuesday. That launches at 8 o'clock tonight. So check out those two, talking golf, making some picks. Hopefully these four make it to the finish line. So you got to get them to make the cut. That's the key. All four.
On to the final part of the show, and that is our dark horse picks for the API at Bay Hill this week. I am joined by Jay Kaplan back after the showdown. Can you please remember to put your team in the correct game this week?
I am so off my game right now, Diane. I feel like an imposter. I'm picking dark horses. They're not making cuts. I'm picking the wrong games. I'm no celebrity. Everybody knows that. I don't know what the hell's going on with me.
Well, it's got to turn around 1 week. That's what I keep telling myself. Just be thankful you're not in my position on our leaderboard. Right. And my dark horse pick was terrible last week too. I picked with my heart Robert McIntyre. He's playing again this week. I'm not picking him. However, Elk, we're going to go into our dark horse picks. I've got one, you have two. Elk has told me that I am making the same mistake as always by picking this guy. However, in my defense, I was going to pick Matt Every. And do you remember last year before you and I did this like publicly, we had our own little kind of fantasy league going.
Yeah.
And I would pick him every week and he did pretty well for a while. He's won this tournament twice before. We've talked about him. I'm not picking Matt Every. However, my dark horse pick today, he has no form. There's nothing I can talk about. He hasn't played on the PGA Tour since the RS Your Cat. My dog just walked in too.
She's excited about it. What can I say?
She shouldn't be. Tell her not to give up her hopes.
You're building it up, so.
He hasn't played on the PGA Tour since the RSM Classic last November. He played the Middle East events on the European Tour, missed the cut in Saudi, missed the cut in Dubai. There's been nothing spectacular. However, he does have a good track record around Bay Hill. He lives in Lake Nona. He had three straight top fives here, almost won in 15, 16, and held the lead for a while in 2018. So my pick for this week is the Swede, the Iceman, Henrik Stenson.
Wow. You know, the only thing missing from that resume that you beautifully laid out was he's got like a terminal disease, his dog died, and there was all kinds of horrible things there. And then you decide, I think I'm going to go with this guy.
Okay, form, there's no form like of late. There is form around this course. So that's a big tick. And also, we've said already that, you know, the fairways are generous here, but the rough is brutal. So accuracy is going to be important. He's 16th on the PGA Tour for driving accuracy. And if he does miss a green, he's 17th in scrambling. So to me, those two stats kind of backed up what I was going with, and I'm sticking with it. Henrik Stenson is my dark horse pick at 140-1.
Look, I'm not going to talk you out of it. It isn't amazing how far sometimes golfers fall. And this guy is an international man of mystery. Where has he been?
Well,
what happened
I will say in his defense is he's a little bit older now. He's played on the tour for a really long time. He doesn't play that much. He's not one of these guys that's out there grinding week after week. So I feel like he picks his tournaments, this being a hometown event for him. I think that Stenson's kind of like playing by his own rules right now when it comes to what events he's going to play. And yeah, I mean, as we say, it's got to turn around sometime.
It's bizarre. He was a guy that was on the tip of everyone's tongue there for a while as like the international guy. So anyway, interesting pick.
Thank you.
And boy, you and I are just like walking on eggshells with picking these dark horses because we just have been on this streak of ice coldness with these picks. I don't know any other way to put it. It's just so frosty in here. Every week I'm cold. So this is going to be our week, Diane, that we, and I'm even pulling for you this week, that we turn this thing around. And my first pick is going to lead the charge. He's an Australian. He's what I would deem a middle-aged Australian. He's a guy that sometimes you see him in the fall and you see these numbers and they come in and you're like, this guy's a top 10, top 20 guy. He's coming off a T21 at Pebble Beach. He was T7 last week in Puerto Rico. In the fall, a T8 at Punta Cana. So he's a guy that can play. He's been out here forever. He's 46 years old. He's Australian. I really like this guy's birdie average. That's one reason I'm zeroing in on him. Ball striking is in the mid-70s. My first dark horse this week is the Australian Cameron Percy.
Okay. Again, I think that's a good pick. I really do. Cameron Percy is one of these names that you do see creeping around near the top. And obviously, good finish last week in Puerto Rico. So maybe some confidence going into Bay Hill this week.
Well, somebody's got to have confidence because I don't. Now, my second pick is a guy that I like to compare as a throwback. He's a throwback to an olden time where you'd get these new guys that come out and there was this sort of villain persona that they would adopt, and this guy had it. I would equate it to he was sort of Patrick Reed before Patrick Reed, and follow me on this. Yeah. He was a guy that would mix it up with the galleries. He's a guy that played with this sort of cocky attitude. He's also a guy that had results, 6 wins in his PGA Tour career. And he's also a guy that every Thursday you seem like you just see his name hovering near the top. And of course, he'll make a cut, but he's not really in contention. Interesting guy, South African, married to a Russian. There's some kind of, again, international man of mystery going on. And he's actually playing pretty good golf these days. T12 at RSM, T12 at American Express, T10 at Farmers. I really like his numbers. 23 in putting average, 34 in birding average, 4th in par 4 birdie or better. My second pick is the one and only Rory Sabatini.
You're right. He's a character. And another thing you're right on is the fact that you do see him lingering near the top. The thing with Sabatini is off the tee. He's just got to get that ball in a good position off the tee, because after that, he seems to be fine. So if he can do that this week with, as we said, slightly more generous fairways, the importance is going to be hitting the green. So Yeah, Sabatini could be a solid pick this week, Jay.
Yeah, we always say, first of all, he knows Bay Hill. He's played here forever. Secondly, we always say that these dark horses, if they can just overcome that one weakness, his one weakness is the T-ball, and Bay Hill allows for a little freedom, let's say, off the tee box. So I look for the one and only Rory Sabatini to make a little run here.
He's also one of these guys. I mean, the same with Stenson and Percy. They don't have the biggest length on the tour, so they're not going to be ripping out that driver and thinking, right, let's get creative and find ways to cut these corners. They're going to strategize their way around it. They've played it many, many times, so they know the way to play that will best suit their game and get the results.
Exactly right. And boy, I think we've got 3 interesting picks this week. Very interesting international players. Well, international for me, I think you're more relatable to the international crew.
Well, the other thing is the past 5 winners have all been from out with the US, and the only 2 Americans to win have been, well, not ever, but in the last however many years, Tiger Woods and Matt Every. So I think that we're really doing it for those internationals.
Diane, you know how the internationals love to travel to sunny Orlando and get sunburnt and walk around International Drive.
Slightly different this year with everything going on, but at least we are going to have fans back at Bay Hill, and I'm going to be one of them there this weekend. So I'll be sure to get some stuff on my social media. Right, Jay, thank you. As you said, hopefully this will be the week it all turns around for us. Next week, it is a big one for us. It's our hometown event with the Players Championship at TPC Sawgrass. Jay and I obviously both in Jacksonville. So normally we go along, we're there every day, we're credentialed, we catch up with all of our players. Again, things are a little bit different. We are going to see fans at the Players, but we will be, of course, bringing you lots of content from our guys. And bearing in mind, our big boss man has won the championship twice. We'll be getting lots of stories from him for our tour report next week.
Compete against your friends on PGA Tour events. Win cash and bragging rights. Test your golf knowledge. Experience the success and failure of PGA Tour players. SG Tour app is an engaging golf experience designed by professional golfers that created a variety of games, including single and multi-day games, as well as tournament-long contests. It's really simple. Join or create a game, pick 4 players, and win cash. You can even immerse yourself in interactive features, including course strategy, putt predictor, and daily content exclusively from PGA Tour players. The word is out and golf fans are catching on. So don't miss out. Download the SG Tour app now.